The message came on a Tuesday morning, Earth time. It was not the kind of message anyone expected to receive. The symbols appeared on every screen across the planet at exactly the same moment. Television sets, computer monitors, phone displays, even the old digital clocks in subway stations. Everything showed the same strange writing that looked like dancing lights. Dr. Sarah Martinez was drinking her morning coffee when her laptop screen flickered. She had been working on her report about ancient human wars when the symbols appeared. She dropped her coffee mug. The hot liquid spread across her desk, but she did not notice. She could not look away from the screen. The symbols moved and changed. Then, somehow, she could understand them. The words formed in her mind as clearly, as if someone was speaking to her. Greetings, people of Earth. You are invited to join the Galactic Council. Please send representatives to the coordinates that will follow. You have 30 of your days to respond. Sarah stared at the screen for a long time. Around the world, billions of other people were doing the same thing. The message repeated 3 times, then the screens went back to normal. But nothing would ever be normal again. The world leaders met within hours. Presidents, prime ministers, kings, and queens all gathered through video calls. They argued and shouted and pointed fingers. Some said it was a trick. Others said it was the most important moment in human history. They were all afraid, though none of them wanted to admit it. Dr. Martinez found herself in a room full of important people 3 days later. She was not sure how it happened. Someone had remembered that she studied human history and warfare. Someone else thought that might be useful. Before she knew it, she was sitting at a table with generals and politicians and scientists. "What do we tell them?" asked General Thompson. He was a large man with gray hair and worried eyes. "What do we say about ourselves?" "We tell them the truth," said Dr. Martinez quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She was not used to so many important people paying attention to her words. "The truth?" asked President Chun. "Do you know what our truth looks like? Do you know what our history is?" Dr. Martinez nodded slowly. "Yes, I study it every day. I know about the wars. I know about the terrible things we have done to each other. I know about the mistakes and the cruelty and the pain." "Then you know we cannot tell them that," said the Secretary of Defense. "They will never accept us. No civilized species would want anything to do with us if they knew." Dr. Martinez looked around the table. She saw fear in every face. These were powerful people, but they were scared like children. "Maybe," she said. "But what if we also tell them about the rest? What if we tell them about how we changed? What if we tell them about the good things we learned to do?" 3 weeks of meetings followed. The room grew crowded with experts and advisors. They brought in historians and philosophers and even a few poets. Everyone had opinions about what humanity should say to the galaxy. Some wanted to lie. They wanted to create a false history that made humans look peaceful and wise. Others wanted to tell only the good parts of the story. They wanted to talk about art and music and literature and pretend the wars never happened. Dr. Martinez listened to all of them. She took notes and asked questions. But deep inside, she knew they were all wrong. On the last day before the deadline, she stood up in the middle of a heated argument. "Stop," she said loudly. Everyone turned to look at her again. This time she was ready. "We are going about this wrong," she said. "We are trying to hide who we are. We are trying to be something we are not, but what if who we are is exactly what they need?" General Thompson frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean that maybe our history of violence is not our weakness. Maybe it is our strength." The room went quiet. Dr. Martinez could hear her own heartbeat. "Think about it," she continued. "If there is a galactic council, that means there are many species out there. They have probably been peaceful for a long time. They have probably forgotten what it means to fight for survival. But what if someday they need to fight? What if someday something threatens them? Who will protect them?" President Chun leaned forward. "You think they need warriors?" "I think they need people who understand both war and peace," Dr. Martinez said. "I think they need people who have made terrible mistakes and learned from them. I think they need people who choose to be Good even when being bad is easier. The argument started again, but they were different now. People were thinking about Dr. Martinez's words. Slowly, an idea began to form. They would tell the truth. All of it, the good and the bad, the wars and the peace treaties, the hatred and the love, the mistakes and the lessons learned. They would show the galaxy exactly who humanity was without trying to hide anything. It was a dangerous plan. It could mean rejection. It could mean that humanity would be left alone in the universe forever. But it was honest, and somehow that felt right. Dr. Martinez was chosen to lead the delegation. She did not want the job, but she understood why. They picked her. She knew the stories better than anyone else. She could tell them in a way that showed both the horror and the hope. The ship that came for them was beautiful beyond description. It looked like it was made of crystal and light. The beings who operated it did not show themselves, but they spoke in voices like music. "We will take you to the council," they said. "Prepare yourselves for wonders beyond your imagination." Dr. Martinez sat in her cabin and looked out at the stars rushing past. In her hands she held a small device that contained every piece of human history they could gather. Wars and love stories, scientific discoveries and terrible mistakes, the rise and fall of empires, the slow, painful growth of wisdom. She thought about the people back on Earth, watching and waiting. She thought about her coffee mug still sitting broken on her desk. She thought about all the humans who had lived and died and fought and loved, and dreamed throughout history. Tomorrow, she would stand before alien beings and tell them who humanity really was. She would show them the blood and the tears and the triumph. She would tell them about species that learned to be better than their worst instincts. She was terrified, but she was also proud. Because the story she carried was not just about humanity's failures. It was about humanity's greatest achievement, the choice to keep trying to be good. Even after making terrible mistakes, the stars continued to rush past, carrying her toward a future that no human had ever imagined. In her cabin, Dr. Martinez whispered a prayer to whatever forces guided the universe. "Let them see us as we really are," she said. "Let them understand that our scars make us stronger, not weaker. Let them know that we are ready to protect what matters because we know what it costs to lose it." The ship flew on through the dark between the stars, carrying humanity's representative toward the most important conversation in the history of the species. Behind them, Earth waited in silence, hoping that their truth would be enough. The Galactic Council chamber was bigger than any building Dr. Martinez had ever seen. The ceiling disappeared into darkness high above her head. Strange lights floated in the air without any visible source. The walls seemed to be made of some kind of living crystal that pulsed with soft colors, but it was not the size or the beauty that took her breath away. It was the beings who filled the enormous space. Dr. Martinez had tried to imagine what aliens would look like. She had seen movies and read books, but nothing had prepared her for the reality. Some of the council members looked almost like geometric shapes floating in the air. Others appeared to be made of pure light that shifted and changed colors. There were beings that looked like living trees with faces in their bark. There were creatures that seemed to be made of liquid metal that flowed and reformed constantly. In the center of the chamber stood a raised platform. Dr. Martinez walked toward it on shaking legs. Her footsteps echoed in the vast space. Every eye, sensor, and consciousness in the room was focused on her. She reached the platform and climbed the steps. Her hands were sweating as she placed the data device on the pedestal in front of her. This small machine contained all of human history. Every war, every peace treaty, every moment of cruelty and kindness that her species had ever recorded. A voice spoke from somewhere above her. It sounded like wind chimes mixed with distant thunder. "Welcome, representative of humanity. I am the speaker for the council. We are eager to learn about your species and your achievements. Please share with us the story of your people." Dr. Martinez took a deep breath. Around the chamber, translation devices hummed softly. Her words would be understood by every being present, no matter how different they were from humans. "Thank you for inviting us," she began. Her voice sounded small in the huge space, but it carried clearly. I am Dr. Sarah Martinez. I speak for the people of Earth. I have come to tell you our story. But I must warn you that it is not the kind of story you might expect. She touched the activation button on the data device. Immediately, holographic images began to appear in the air above the platform. The first image showed Earth as seen from space, a blue and green jewel floating in the darkness. This is our world, Dr. Martinez said. It is beautiful, and it is the only home we have ever known. But it has also been the stage for great violence and terrible pain. The images changed. Now they showed ancient armies marching across battlefields. Swords clashed against shields. Arrows filled the sky like deadly rain. The beings in the chamber began to shift and murmur. Some of the floating lights flickered faster. The tree-like creatures rustled their branches in what might have been distress. Our earliest recorded history is full of war, Dr. Martinez continued. Humans fought each other for land, for resources, for ideas, for religion. We killed each other by the thousands, then by the millions. The images kept changing. Medieval battles gave way to more modern conflicts. Cannons fired across smoky battlefields, ships sank in burning seas. Cities burned while their people fled in terror. A new voice spoke from the chamber. It sounded like crystal bells ringing. This is disturbing, the voice said. Are you telling us that your species has always been violent? That you have never known peace? Dr. Martinez looked toward the source of the voice. She saw a being that looked like a living diamond, its faceted surface reflecting the holographic images. No, she said quietly. That is not what I am telling you. Violence was part of our story, but it was never all of our story. The images changed again. Now they showed humans helping each other, doctors caring for the wounded, teachers working with children, artists creating beautiful things, scientists making discoveries that helped everyone, even in our darkest times. There were always humans who chose kindness over cruelty, Dr. Martinez said. There were always people who tried to heal instead of hurt. There were always those who built instead of destroyed. But then the images returned to scenes of conflict. The holographs showed the great wars of the 20th century. Millions of soldiers died in muddy trenches. Cities disappeared under falling bombs. Entire populations were murdered because of their race or religion. The chamber filled with sounds of distress. Some beings moved away from the platform. Others seemed to dim their lights or fold in on themselves. A voice like rushing water spoke from the darkness. Why do you show us these horrors? Why do you think we would want such violent beings in our council? Dr. Martinez felt her heart beating fast. This was the moment she had feared most. But she also knew it was the most important part of her message. Because, she said, raising her voice so everyone could hear, this is the moment when everything changed. The images shifted once more. Now they showed the end of the great wars. They showed humans working together to rebuild what had been destroyed. They showed the creation of international laws and human rights declarations. They showed former enemies becoming friends and allies. We looked at what we had done to ourselves and to our world, Dr. Martinez said. We saw the pain we had caused, and the futures we had destroyed, and we decided to be better. The holographs showed the formation of the United Nations. They showed treaties being signed and peace accords being reached. They showed humans working together to solve problems instead of fighting over them. We did not forget our capacity for violence, Dr. Martinez continued. We could not forget it because the scars were too deep, but we chose to use our strength differently. We chose to protect instead of attack. We chose to build instead of tear down. A being that looked like flowing energy spoke in a voice like singing. But how do we know you will not return to your violent ways? How do we know you can be trusted? Doctor. Martinez smiled sadly. You do not know. We cannot prove it to you with words. We can only show you through our actions. But I can tell you this, we remember the cost of violence because we have paid it. We know what war really means because we have lived through it. And that knowledge makes us stronger guardians of peace than those who have never faced the darkness. The images now showed modern Earth, cities full of people from different races and cultures living together. Scientists from different countries, working side by side, former enemies trading goods and sharing knowledge. We are not perfect, Dr. Martinez said. We still make mistakes, we still have conflicts. But we have learned to solve them without destroying each other. We have learned that our differences make us stronger, not weaker. The chamber had grown very quiet. Dr. Martinez could feel thousands of alien minds thinking about her words. Some seemed confused, others appeared frightened. But a few seemed to be considering what she had said with growing interest. A voice like distant thunder spoke from high above. You claim that your violent history makes you better protectors of peace. Can you explain this more clearly? Dr. Martinez nodded. This was the heart of her message. A being who has never known darkness cannot truly appreciate light, she said. A species that has never faced the possibility of destruction cannot fully understand the value of creation. We humans know both sides of this truth. We know what it means to lose everything. We know what it costs to build something beautiful. And because we know these things, we will fight harder than anyone to protect what matters. The holographic images faded away. The chamber was filled only with the soft pulsing of the crystal walls and the quiet sounds of many different types of breathing. Dr. Martinez stood alone on the platform, waiting for the council's response. She had told humanity's story as honestly as she could. Now she could only hope that these alien beings would understand that strength could come from acknowledging weakness, and that wisdom could grow from admitting mistakes. The future of humanity's place in the galaxy hung in the balance of their decision. The silence in the great chamber stretched on for what felt like hours. Dr. Martinez stood on the platform, watching the alien beings around her. Some were still and quiet, like statues thinking deep thoughts. Others moved restlessly, their forms shifting and changing as they considered what they had heard. Finally, the speaker's voice filled the air again. "We will take a recess to discuss what we have learned," the voice announced. "Representative Martinez, you may wait in the adjacent chamber. We will call for you when we are ready to continue." Dr. Martinez nodded and walked toward a doorway that had not been there before. The walls of this place seemed to change according to need. She found herself in a smaller room with what looked like a chair made of soft light. When she sat down, it molded itself to her body and felt surprisingly comfortable. Through the transparent wall, she could see the council members gathering in groups. The geometric shapes clustered together, pulsing with different colors. The tree-like beings moved, their branches in complex patterns that might have been their way of talking. The flowing energy creatures danced around each other in spirals of light. Dr. Martinez tried to guess what they were saying. Were they angry, disgusted, afraid? It was impossible to tell from their alien gestures and movements. After some time, a new being approached her chamber. This one looked almost human, except for the silver skin and the extra pair of arms. When it spoke, its voice sounded kind and curious. "I am Counselor Vash of the Meridian Collective," it said. "May I speak with you while the others deliberate?" Course, Dr. Martinez replied. A section of the wall dissolved to let the alien enter. Vash sat down across from her. All four of its hands were folded neatly in its lap. "Your presentation has caused quite a stir," Vash said. "Many of my colleagues are disturbed by what you have shown us. They say that violence has no place in a civilized galaxy." Dr. Martinez felt her heart sink. "And what do you think?" Vash was quiet for a moment. "I think that my colleagues have forgotten something important. They have been at peace for so long that they believe peace is the natural state of all intelligent life. But I am old enough to remember when this was not true. You remember war?" Dr. Martinez asked with surprise. "I remember the time before the council," Vash said. "I remember when species fought each other across the stars. I remember worlds that burned and civilizations that disappeared forever. But that was thousands of your years ago. Most of the beings here today were born after the Great Peace began. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. How did the peace begin? We grew tired, Vash said simply. We evolved beyond the need for conflict. Our species developed technologies that gave us everything we needed. We no longer had to compete for resources or territory. War became pointless. That sounds wonderful, Dr. Martinez said. It was wonderful, Vash agreed. But now I wonder if we lost something important when we gave up our ability to fight. Before Dr. Martinez could ask what he meant, the wall shimmered and another voice called out, Representative Martinez, please return to the chamber. The council is ready to continue? Dr. Martinez walked back into the great hall. The alien beings had arranged themselves differently now. Instead of mixing together, they seemed to have formed distinct groups. She could sense tension in the air that had not been there before. The speaker's voice rang out again. Representative Martinez, we have discussed your presentation. The council is divided in our response. Some believe that your species' violent history disqualifies you from membership. Others argue that this history might be valuable. We have decided to ask you some questions before we make our final decision. I am ready to answer, Dr. Martinez said. The crystal being that had spoken earlier stepped forward. Its faceted surface caught the light and threw rainbows across the chamber. I am Counselor Prism of the Eternal Garden, it said. My question is this: if we allow humanity to join the council, how do we know you will not bring your violence to our peaceful worlds? How do we know you will not corrupt our young with your warlike ways? Dr. Martinez took a deep breath. She had expected this question. Counselor Prism, she said, I understand your concern. But consider this. We have had the power to destroy our own world for decades. We have weapons that could turn our planet into dust, yet we choose not to use them. Every day, billions of humans wake up and choose peace over war. We are not violent because we have to be. We are peaceful because we choose to be, and that choice means more because we know the alternative. Another being spoke up. This one looked like a flowing river of silver light. I am Counselor Flow of the Harmony Streams, it said. My people have been peaceful for 10,000 years. We achieved this by removing all aggressive thoughts from our minds. We no longer even understand the concept of violence. Are you saying that our peace is somehow less valuable than yours? This was a harder question. Dr. Martinez did not want to insult these beings, but she needed to be honest. Your peace is beautiful, she said carefully. But what happens if someone threatens it? What happens if a force comes that does not share your peaceful nature? Who will defend what you have built? The silver being rippled with what might have been confusion. Defend. We do not understand this concept. If someone wished to harm us, we would simply move away. And if they followed you? If they wanted to destroy you completely? The chamber filled with murmurs and strange sounds. Clearly, this was not something these beings liked to think about. A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. It was deeper and rougher than the others. I am General Korthak of the Iron Republics, the voice said. A large, metallic being stepped forward. My people are warriors, though we have been at peace for many centuries. I understand what the human speaks of. There are forces in this galaxy that do not respect peace. There are things that hunger for destruction. Dr. Martinez looked at the metal being with interest. Finally, someone who might understand. What kind of forces? She asked General. Korthak's metal face grew grim. The Devourers, he said. Machines that consume everything in their path. They care nothing for peace or war. They only hunger. They have been quiet for centuries, but they are still out there. The chamber erupted in nervous sounds. Clearly, the Devourers were something that frightened even these advanced beings. The speaker's voice cut through the noise. General Korthak, we do not speak of such things. The Devourers are contained. They are no longer a threat. Are they? General Korthak asked. How would we know? None of us maintains military forces anymore. None of us remembers how to fight. If they return, what will we do? Dr. Martinez felt a chill run down her spine. How long has it been since anyone saw these Devourers? 300 years, General Korthak replied, but space is vast. They could be anywhere, growing stronger while we grow softer. The tree-like beings rustled their branches anxiously. The floating shapes dimmed their lights. Even the flowing energy creatures seemed to move more slowly. Counselor Vash stepped forward. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "we have been foolish to forget the lessons of our past. Perhaps there is wisdom in keeping some who remember what it means to fight." "Are you suggesting we allow these violent humans to join us?" Counselor Prism asked, its crystal surface flashing with sharp colors. "I am suggesting," Vash replied, "that we might need them more than they need us." Dr. Martinez felt a surge of hope. Maybe the Council would understand after all. Maybe they would see that humanity's greatest strength was not their capacity for violence, but their choice to use that capacity only to protect what mattered. But before anyone could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the chamber. Red lights flashed from the crystal walls. The alien beings looked around in confusion and growing fear. The speaker's voice boomed over the noise, but now it was filled with panic. "Emergency alert! Unknown vessels detected at the edge of Council space. Ships of unknown design approaching at high speed. All Council members prepare for possible evacuation." Dr. Martinez stood frozen on the platform as chaos erupted around her. The peaceful beings who had never known war were about to face something they did not understand. And humanity, with all their bloody history and hard-won wisdom, might be the only ones who could help them. The alarms continued to wail as panic spread through the great chamber. Dr. Martinez watched the alien beings scatter in all directions. Some disappeared through doorways that opened in the walls. Others seemed to fade away like mist. The floating, geometric shapes spun wildly before shooting toward the ceiling and vanishing. "Wait!" Dr. Martinez shouted, but her voice was lost in the chaos. Only a few beings remained in the chamber. General Korthak stood like a metal statue, his warrior instincts keeping him calm. Counselor Vash moved closer to the platform, his silver skin reflecting the flashing red lights. The speaker's presence still filled the air, though its voice now carried notes of fear. "How many ships?" General Korthak demanded. "Scanning now," the speaker replied. "Long-range sensors detect 57 vessels. Design unknown. Technology unknown. They are moving faster than should be possible." Dr. Martinez felt ice in her stomach. "Are they the Devourers?" "We cannot tell," the speaker said. "Our records of the Devourers are old and incomplete. These ships do not match any known configuration." General Korthak's metal face turned toward Dr. Martinez. "Human, does your species have military vessels in this area of space?" "No," Dr. Martinez said. "Quickly, Earth only sent one ship and it brought me here. We have no other vessels that could travel this far." "Then who are they?" Counselor Vash asked. Before anyone could answer, a new sound filled the chamber. It was different from the alarms. This sound was deeper, more rhythmic. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Incoming transmission," the speaker announced. "The unknown vessels are attempting to communicate." "Put it through," General Korthak ordered. The air in the chamber shimmered, and suddenly they could hear voices. But these were not alien voices. Dr. Martinez recognized the language immediately. "This is Admiral Chun of the Earth Defense Fleet," a woman's voice said clearly. "We are responding to a priority alert from our diplomatic mission. Dr. Martinez. If you can hear this, please respond." Dr. Martinez stared at the air in shock. "Admiral Chun? How did you get here so fast? How did you even know?" The voice crackled with static, then cleared. "Dr. Martinez. Thank goodness you are safe. We have been monitoring your mission through quantum entanglement communicators. When we detected unknown energy signatures approaching your location, we launched an emergency response." General Korthak stepped forward. "You launched 57 warships?" "57?" Admiral Chun sounded surprised. "No, General. We launched 312 vessels." The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Counselor Vash gasping. Even General Korthak seemed stunned. 300 ships?" The speaker whispered, "How is this possible? Your species only achieved faster than light travel recently." Admiral Chun's voice carried a note of pride. When one of our people is in danger, we respond with everything we have. The moment we detected potential threats in this system, every available ship in the Earth Defense Fleet was ordered to jump here immediately. Dr. Martinez felt a strange mix of pride and embarrassment. Admiral, I appreciate the rescue attempt, but I do not think I am in immediate danger. Not yet, came a different voice over the communication system. This one was male and carried the authority of command. This is Captain Rodriguez of the EDF Defiant, Dr. Martinez, our long range. Sensors are detecting something else approaching this system. Something big. General Korthek's metal hands clenched into fists. How big? Unknown class vessels, at least twice the size of our largest ships? Current count is over 5,000 and climbing. They will reach this system in approximately 6 hours. The chamber went deadly quiet. Even the alarm seemed to fade into background noise. 5,000 ships, Counselor Vash said slowly. That is more than the entire Council defense fleet. You have a defense fleet? Dr. Martinez asked. Had, General Korthek corrected grimly. Most of our vessels were converted to civilian use. Centuries ago. We kept perhaps 50 ships for ceremonial purposes. The speaker's voice trembled. If these are the Devourers, we are not prepared for such numbers. Dr. Martinez stepped toward the communication system. Admiral Chun, what is the status of Earth's fleet? All ships are combat ready, Dr. Martinez. We came prepared for the worst-case scenario. How many troops? Approximately 2 million personnel across all vessels. Every ship is armed with the latest defensive and offensive systems. General Korthek looked at Dr. Martinez with something that might have been respect. Your species maintains an army of 2 million soldiers? Not just soldiers, Dr. Martinez replied. Engineers, medics, pilots, scientists. People who can fight, but also people who can build, heal, and discover. We learned that you need both kinds to win a war. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the speakers again. Dr. Martinez, we are detecting energy signatures from the approaching fleet. Our analysis suggests they are not biological in origin. Machines, General Korthek said quietly. Just like the old stories said. Counselor Vash moved closer to Dr. Martinez. Human, your fleet. Can they fight machines? Dr. Martinez thought about the question carefully. We have fought many different enemies throughout our history. We have learned to adapt to whatever threatens us. But I cannot promise victory against an unknown force. What do you need from us? The speaker asked. The question surprised Dr. Martinez. You are asking for our help? What choice do we have? Counselor Vash said. You tried to tell us that your violent history might be valuable. It seems the galaxy is about to test that theory. Admiral Chun's voice cut through their conversation. Dr. Martinez, we need tactical information about this system. Ship positions, defensive installations, civilian populations that need protection. I can provide some of that information, General Korthek said. But most of our defensive systems have not been used in centuries. We are not sure if they still function. Then we will have to make do with what we have, came another voice from the human fleet. This one was younger, with a slight accent. This is Commander Singh of the science vessel Discovery. We are prepared to share our defensive technologies. With any allied vessels, Dr. Martinez felt a surge of hope. Even facing impossible odds, her people were offering to help these aliens who had questioned whether humanity deserved a place in their civilization. General Korthek, she said, can you contact what remains of the Council fleet? Those that have not already fled? Yes. Ask them to rendezvous with our ships. Our people will need to learn about these Devourers, and your people will need to learn about our weapons. General Korthek paused. You would share your military technology with us? Even though we have not yet accepted you into the Council? Dr. Martinez looked around the chamber. Most of the Council members had fled when the first alarm sounded. These alien beings had spent so long in peace that they had forgotten how to face danger. But that did not make them evil or worthless. It just made them vulnerable. General, she said quietly, when someone is in danger, you help them. You do not ask if they like you first. For the first time since she had met him, General Korthak smiled. It was a strange expression on his metal face, but it seemed genuine. Perhaps, he said, we have been fools to question your species' worthiness. Anyone who would protect strangers is more than civilized. They are noble. The speaker's voice filled the air again, but now it carried a note of determination that had been missing before. All remaining council vessels, this is an emergency. Directive: form up with the human fleet at coordinates that will be transmitted momentarily. We will make our stand here, together. Dr. Martinez looked out at the stars beyond the crystal walls. Somewhere out there, an ancient enemy was approaching. The peaceful galaxy was about to face its greatest test. But they would not face it alone. Humanity had arrived at the Galactic Council with blood-stained stories. Now those stories might be the key to keeping the light burning in a universe that suddenly seemed much darker and more dangerous than anyone had realized. 6 hours felt like 6 minutes. Dr. Martinez stood in the command center that had been hastily set up in the council chamber. Holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in the system. The human fleet formed a defensive line between the council station and the approaching enemy. The few remaining council vessels had taken positions behind the human ships. General Korthak stood beside her, his metal frame somehow radiating tension despite his artificial nature. Councillor Vash paced back and forth, his forearms moving nervously. The speaker's presence filled the air around them, but it had grown thin and worried. Enemy fleet is now in visual range, Admiral Chun's voice announced through the communication system. Mother of mercy! They are bigger than we thought. On the main display, dark shapes appeared against the starfield. They were not ships in any sense that Dr. Martinez understood. They looked like geometric nightmares, all sharp angles and cruel curves. Some were the size of cities. Others stretched out like metal snakes that could swallow moons. How many? General Korthak asked. Final count is 7,412 vessels, Captain Rodriguez reported. They are not responding to any communication attempts. Dr. Martinez watched the enemy fleet approach. Each ship seemed to pulse with dark energy. They moved in perfect formation like parts of a single vast machine. Are they scanning us? She asked. Constantly, came the reply from Commander Singh. But their scans are different from anything we have seen. They are not trying to identify us. They are trying to catalog us. Catalog? Councillor Vash stopped. Pacing. What does that mean? They are determining our worth as resources, General Korthak said grimly. The old stories said the Devourers consumed everything. Metal, energy, even information. They turned civilizations into fuel for their expansion. The enemy fleet stopped just outside weapon range. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then a new voice filled the command center. It was cold and mechanical, without any emotion or warmth. Biological and synthetic entities detected. Evaluation complete. Resources adequate for consumption. Resistance probability low. Beginning harvest operations. The dark ships began to spread out, surrounding the human and council forces. Dr. Martinez could see weapon ports opening along their hulls. These were not the elegant energy weapons she had seen on council ships. These looked designed for one purpose: complete destruction. All ships, this is Admiral Chun. Remember your training. Protect the civilian station at all costs. Show them what Earth's children can do. The battle began without warning. The Devourer ships fired first, sending beams of dark energy toward the human fleet. But the Earth ships were already moving. They scattered like a school of fish, each vessel following patterns that seemed random but were actually carefully coordinated. Dr. Martinez watched in amazement as the human fleet responded to the attack. The ships moved like they were dancing, weaving between enemy fire with grace and precision. When they fired back, their weapons struck with devastating accuracy. How are they doing that? Councillor Vash asked in wonder. Experience, Dr. Martinez said simply. Humans have been fighting in space for decades. We know how to move, how to think, how to survive when everything is trying to kill you. The council ships tried to help, but their peaceful weapons were designed for ceremonial purposes. Their energy beams barely scratched the dark hulls of the enemy vessels. Worse, the council pilots had no experience with combat maneuvering. Several ships were destroyed in the first few minutes of fighting. "Council vessels, fall back to the station," Admiral Chun ordered. "Protect the civilians. Leave the fighting to us." General Korthak's hands clenched into fists. "We are useless. Centuries of peace have made us weak." "Not weak," Dr. Martinez said, watching the battle unfold. "Different. You built something beautiful here, something worth protecting. That is not weakness." The human fleet had formed into small groups, each one attacking a different part of the enemy formation. Dr. Martinez recognized the tactics from her studies of ancient warfare. It was the same strategy her ancestors had used against larger forces: divide and conquer, but the Devourers were learning. Their ships began to adapt to human tactics. When the Earth vessels tried to outmaneuver them, they moved faster. When the humans concentrated their fire, the Devourers strengthened their shields. "They are evolving," Commander Singh reported. "Their technology is adapting to counter our strategies." Dr. Martinez felt a chill of fear. This was what made the Devourers so dangerous. They did not just destroy civilizations, they learned from them first. "Admiral Chun," she said into the communication system, "try something they cannot adapt to." "What do you mean, Doctor?" Dr. Martinez thought about all the human history she had studied, all the wars and battles and desperate last stands. What had always made humans different was not their technology or their tactics. It was something deeper. "Try being unpredictable," she said. "Do something that makes no sense. Something that only humans would think of." There was a pause. Then Admiral Chun's voice came back with a note of understanding. "All ships, this is the Admiral. New orders. Forget your training. Forget the manual. Fight like humans." What happened next was unlike anything in the recorded history of space warfare. The human ships broke formation completely. They charged straight at the enemy vessels, firing everything they had. Some ships rammed into Devourer hulls, their crews sacrificing themselves to create openings for others. Pilots performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. Using their ships in ways they were never designed for, the Devourers tried to adapt, but they could not. There was no logic to follow, no pattern to predict. The humans were fighting with pure instinct and desperate courage. "Impossible," the mechanical voice said. "Behavior does not match tactical parameters, cannot compute effective countermeasures." More. Human ships fell, but they took dozens of Devourer vessels with them. The Dark Fleet began to pull back, their perfect formations breaking apart as they tried to understand an enemy that defied all logic. Dr. Martinez watched a human destroyer spin through space with half its hull torn away, still firing at enemy ships with its remaining weapons. She saw a science vessel use its research equipment as weapons, turning exploration tools into instruments of war. "They are magnificent," General Korthak whispered. "How do they fight with such fury while still protecting others?" "Because that is what humans do," Dr. Martinez said, tears running down her face. "We fight hardest when we are protecting something we love." The tide of battle began to turn. The Devourers, faced with an enemy they could not understand or predict, started to retreat. Their ships pulled back toward the edge of the system, abandoning their harvest operation. "Enemy fleet is withdrawing," Captain Rodriguez reported. "They are jumping to faster than light speeds? Wait. They are gone?" The command center erupted in cheers from the surviving council members. But Dr. Martinez felt only sadness as she looked at the display showing the human fleet. Nearly half of their ships were gone. Thousands of people had died to protect aliens. They had never met. Admiral Chun's voice filled the chamber. "Dr. Martinez, the enemy has been driven off. But our losses were severe. 212 ships destroyed. Over 800,000 casualties." The chamber fell silent. Even the celebrating council members stopped their cheering. "Admiral," Dr. Martinez said quietly. Was it worth it? Doctor, we came here to protect you and show the galaxy who we are. Mission accomplished on both counts. General Korthak stepped forward. Speaker, I call for an immediate vote. Humanity has more than proven their worth. They have shown us what it truly means to be civilized. Agreed, Councillor Vash said. All in favor of granting full membership to humanity? The vote was unanimous. Even the council members who had fled during the battle cast their votes in favor. Dr. Martinez stood on the platform where she had begun her presentation. But everything had changed. Welcome to the Galactic Council, the speaker said formally. Representative Martinez, your people will have full voting rights and access to all council resources. Dr. Martinez looked out at the stars where human ships still patrolled, protecting the council station. Thank you, she said. But I think you need us more than we need you. Perhaps, General Korthak said. But that is what makes your species so valuable. You fight not for reward, but because it is right. In the days that followed, the story of the battle spread throughout the galaxy. Other species that had remained neutral requested to join the council, knowing that humanity would protect them. The age of easy peace was over, but something stronger had taken its place. Humanity had arrived at the Galactic Council with blood-stained stories. They had left their mark on the galaxy not through conquest, but through sacrifice. And in doing so, they had shown that the greatest strength was not the power to destroy, but the courage to protect what mattered most.